It's the remix to Freedom, where you gotta live in a concrete fart hole. It's actually the worst fucking thing you could ever imagine. Sipping on toilet alcohol should have been nicer to women. Boop boop dee boop ba ba da boop ba. All right. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to True Correct Loser. I hope you're doing well. So, folks, last week I saw that R. Kelly was in court making his final pre-trial court appearance. I guess the big trial starts in a couple weeks on August 18th, and I was thinking to myself, where has R. Kelly been? You ever have one of those days where it's like, wait, where is R. Kelly? It's not the easiest one to keep up on. The man has been dealing with rape allegations since I was in kindergarten. And so I looked it up, and I had no idea he's here in New York City at the same Brooklyn jail that Ghislaine has been at for the past year. R. Kelly's been there since 2019. I was thinking him and Ghislaine are pretty similar charges, both have big trials coming up. Maybe they could form a sad little R&B duo to pass the time, sing songs through the toilets. Like R. Kelly's in his cell going, I wouldn't call it trafficking. Ghislaine's in her cell like, definitely wouldn't use the word trafficking, yeah. I went back and I watched the 2019 R. Kelly interview that he did with Gayle, and 2019 really was the year of the unbelievable interview. I don't know if it will ever be topped. We had, starting out in February, we had Jussie Smollett going, these fear mongrels. Big fear mongrel problem in this country, so that's why I'm here. And then a couple months later, we had R. Kelly going, I'm tired of the lies. I've been seeing stuff in the blogs. That's one of the most absurd ways he tries to explain the whole thing is he goes, I've been seeing stuff in the blogs. R. Kelly's was trying to deal with the rape allegations as if it was 2003. Just, love me if you want to or hate me if you want to. Just forget the blogs. Like, I wonder if his people came up to him and were like, Robert, I know this has been tough, and it's like, what do you say in these interviews? But you're way past the blog portion of this whole thing. You've been charged with felonies. Lifetime made a 6-part docuseries. 6 hours of women and family members that even at the thought of you start shaking and crying. So to when you do, answer questions about it, to just act like it's just like something that's on the blogs isn't really making sense. Just because we were curious after you went to bed, Robert, last night, Stacy and I, we just checked. We were like, let's see if anyone is blogging about him. Literally no one is blogging about you. I also thought it would be funny if you could see his R. Kelly's people telling him that their Lifetime is making that 6-part docu-series. They come up to him like, hey, Robert, sorry, man, bad news, but Lifetime, like the TV channel, is making a docu-series where they're going to interview a lot of your exes and family members and tour managers and everybody. And so we just wanted to give you the heads up. And R. Kelly's like, oh, God, how many parts? 2, 3? And they're like, 6. He's like, oh, no, a 6er. Fuck, what am I going to do? A 6er. So a couple months after Jussie Smollett and the fear mongrels, then R. Kelly sat down with Gayle and was going, love me if you want to or hate me if you want to. Just forget the blogs. I might use that one if I actually get in real trouble someday. Like, sorry, everybody, gonna need you to ignore the blogs on this one. Give me a couple weeks with no blog access. And then a couple months after R. Kelly's talking about the blogs, then we have Prince Andrew going, it was a straightforward shooting weekend. And what's hilarious about going back and watching the Prince Andrew interview is at that point, Ghislaine hadn't been arrested yet. So his big strategy to distance himself from Epstein was to be like, no, I was hanging out with Ghislaine, his girlfriend. Epstein was around, but it's because I was really good friends with Ghislaine, and obviously that didn't age well. And so R. Kelly sits down in one of the most outrageous interviews that I've probably ever seen. He had done a bunch of interviews, actually, tough interviews on the subject, but I think what changed is the times. These days, if you do an interview like that, a really interview, it's going to be up on YouTube. Anyone can pull it up. I think R. Kelly and Prince Andrew were used to the times where you could do an interview, take a beating, look like an idiot, sweat, say the blogs, straightforward shooting weekend. But you do the interview. It's shown on TV once. The people that see it, see it. The people that miss it, miss it. And then even the people that see it, as the weeks go on and the months go on and the years go on, you can't pull it up. There wasn't a YouTube or anything. And in a way, it disappears. The person gets credit for doing the interview, and they keep it moving. But a big change happened now where something like this interview, it doesn't go away. And I think it goes back to R. Kelly trying to deal with this whole thing like it was 1999, going, I've been seeing stuff in the blogs and the lies. And as the interview goes with R. Kelly, at one point, I mean, I can't diagnose anyone, but to me, he seems like just the classic narcissist. And you can almost see the strategies or the cycle that a narcissist does, like when one thing doesn't work, then they go on to the next thing. You almost get to see the whole thing in this one interview. Because at first he's quiet and he's going, tired of the lies, tired of the blogs. And then, as that is running into just a brick wall, it's absurd to try to talk about that in the interview. And then at one point his whole voice changes and he almost turns into Cosby, and he's going, all you have to do is press one button on your phone and you can start a rumor against someone like me like that. And Gayle goes, are you blaming this on social media? And he's going, I'm talking about the power of social media. But what a nightmare it would be, obviously, to have to be around R. Kelly or to be in a relationship with him. But you get to see a small hint of it in this interview, that if you were having, a disagreement, if you're in a relationship with them, you get to see his strategy. So first, he's like the quiet, absolutely. Gayle asked him something like, so all of the girls, 6 hours worth of the girls that shake and cry when they think about you, they're all just flat out lying. And he gets quiet, R. Kelly. Absolutely. Nothing says telling the truth like going from just a normal talking voice to just absolutely. So first he does the creepy quiet lie, and then the other absurd line that he uses over and over, he goes, they're lying on me. And Gayle's like, that's it? They're all lying on you. Yep, they're lying on me. Sorry, folks, everyone's lying on me. Forget the blogs. Love me or hate me, but just please ignore the blogs. And then he goes into that voice I was telling about. All you have to do. And as the interview goes, and he's not getting any help from Gayle, she's not sympathizing with him, she's not going with him on any of they're lying on me. And he chooses to just take her almost out of the equation, which makes the interview really crazy, because he's not getting what he wants from Gayle. So then he stands up and does the classic, just starts screaming, which is another tactic of if you're just taking a beat down in a conversation or in, talking about your allegations. If it's not going well, I think a last-ditch effort was to just blow up. 30 years of my career. And Gayle's just going, Robert, 30 years. And his publicist, comes in to, calm him down. What a job that would be. R. Kelly's crisis manager. At one point, the guy that was his crisis manager was doing interviews, and he was like, yeah, I had to quit because, what are you going to do? It's at a certain point, you can't manage the crisis. You just got to go to jail, Robert. It's just unmanageable. So we got the whisper, and I know there's a technical name for it, but he does a strategy that you see a lot where you just make the allegations just absurd. You take the attitude of like, yeah, that's what happened. And he starts going, it's stupid. Why would I hold these women captive? It's stupid. And it's got to be hard to be one of his victims, and you do that documentary and you're like, God, I'm just known for this now, and I wish I didn't have to be connected with this freak, but I want to do the docu-series. I want to get it out there. We got to cook this guy's goose once and for all. And you do that, you do the docu-series, which it's a tough thing. You sit down in one of those, they put the professional lighting up, and then you have to talk about this. They're all crying, they're all shaking. I'm sure it was a terrible day. And then the docu-series comes out, and then that interview comes out, and you're like, all right, I went through this horrible time. Let's see finally what R. Kelly, how he responds to the whole thing. And he responds to it by just going, that's stupid. Use your common sense. Think about it. Why would I do this to all these women? It's stupid. You're sitting there like, all right, well, it was pretty painful for me, but I wouldn't call it stupid. But, I guess he's got to say something. And I think it's over for R. Kelly. I really do. I'm going to pay attention to the trial. Like I said, it starts in a couple weeks. Somebody else that appeared in court last week, did I talk about that already on this one? But Jussie Smollett was also in court last week. Hilariously, his trial hasn't started yet. How's that going, Jussie? How's that living your life, thinking about this for 2 years? But where that one is at is he was charged, then those charges kind of just disappeared, and then a special, what do they call it? Special investigator? Dan Webb, can't remember his technical term, was brought on to look at whether the charges should have been dropped. He decided they shouldn't have been. Took him a whole year to decide that, and now everything's getting going again. Jussie got a whole new team of lawyers, and one of those lawyers, this is the big drama of the case recently, one of those lawyers actually talked with the brothers that Jussie allegedly paid to kick his ass, talked to the brothers way back when the event happened, possibly to maybe represent them, and then so the court had to decide, is it a conflict of interest for Jussie's new lawyer because he talked to the brothers that he allegedly paid to kick his ass, and the ruling was that Jussie can keep the lawyer, but that lawyer cannot question the brothers, and the official ruling of the court appearance this past week was that his new lawyers get 2 weeks to prepare. So I don't know if that means the trial's going to start in 2 weeks or if they're going to meet again in 2 weeks and then do a final date. But that one is also going to be really interesting. As they walked out of the courtroom, Jussie's new team of lawyers spoke to reporters. First time his team or anyone has spoke to reporters in a while. And their attitude is, here we are more than 2 years later, and their attitude is, this is what we're wasting our time on. There's murders in Chicago. There's violent, assaults in Chicago, and this is what we're wasting our time on, is this misdemeanor. And so that's the attitude. And then also the attitude is we are prepared to fight in court. And at this point, I really want it to go to trial, because it's like, let's just see what happens at this point. It seems to me like the evidence is overwhelming against Jussie, so I think the trial would be pretty embarrassing for him, but who knows? So let's see, I had one other thing. R. Kelly was in court, Jussie Smollett is in court, and maybe I'll just do a separate episode, but old Chris Chan was in court on Thursday too. And he was saying to the judge that he won't feel comfortable going forward with his incest charge for allegedly having sex with his elderly mother. He's not going to feel comfortable proceeding in the whole thing until he gets his possessions home, which I think are Legos. So I think I'm just going to put that one as a separate episode. Talk about Chris Chan. We've all grown up on the internet, and it really has gotten, the whole Chris Chan story really made it to a dark place. But I'm going to cut it off there. I love you all. I will see you soon. Why, Steven, why? Show me.